Hey there, Nikki here. I'm excited to start getting going for July and everything we have to share in the Artist Lounge for our amazing members. It is going to be landscape driven. I'm going to show you some really fun ways that I express landscapes, and we're building on the idea of looking at value ranges and making sure that you have a nice range of value in your paintings. Now, part of the experience that I'm designing through the Artist Lounge really has to do with learning, experimentation, and making everything in bite-sized chunks so that it doesn't feel overwhelming and that you feel like you can work through the process at your own pace. Part of the process of what I do in studio when I'm working on my own artwork and I'm thinking about different ways that I want to grow or be inspired, or just again looking for a little bit of grounding in my art practice, I always come back to books. Books are a big part of my life. I enjoy learning. I enjoy reading other people's experiences and processes, especially when it comes to art. It helps with my mental focus as well as my just own process for, again, when I'm approaching things like art making especially. So this month's book club book that I'm going to recommend that you explore along with me is How to Paint Like Turner. So J.W.M. Turner, I always get his initials wrong. I'm going to make sure I got it right because he deserves that. J.M.W. Turner was an abstract, I'm going to describe him as an expressionist landscape artist who worked a lot in watercolor, who was born, I think it was the late 1700s. Again, not great with detail when it comes to dates and things like that, but he was a talented, April 1775, there you go. He was a talented artist, one who explored travel as well as painting landscapes, and he had a really great knack for, or talent, great knack doesn't do him justice, but he had a really great talent for depicting light and shadow specifically. And the way I describe his paintings when I look at them is his use of value, but also how he uses very little brush strokes or detail to express his landscapes. I'm getting distracted looking at them. But this book, I think, is a really great tool to help you understand how to work with value, making your paintings be more expressionistic in style so that you can focus in on creating value in your own paintings. As I work through this book, I'll share with you through the notes here on Substack just my findings and maybe even what colors I'm using and how I'm working the process. Now, he did paint with oils, and I may bring in a little bit of gouache. I do have oils that I can bring in if I choose through the process, but over the next month, I'm going to work on creating simple landscapes in my sketchbook that are a bit more expressionistic. I'm going to focus on values and creating atmosphere, because I think landscapes really should be all about how you feel and how it feels to observe what you've painted, and even how you feel through the process. I ground myself in my process and feel like more often than not, I like to be in flow. And it's okay if things are a little bit challenging or you feel a bit of friction, because that's where the growth happens. But especially when I am in my studio painting in the mornings, when that's my time, I want to feel in flow with the process for how I'm applying paint, what's happening on my paper, and being able to slow down and observe that. So landscapes don't have to be a realistic rendition of what you're seeing or whatever your visual reference is. Think of it as what emotion can you bring out of them and have it be a little bit more abstracted and expressionistic. And I think that this book, How to Paint Like Turner, so the Tate publishes it. I'm sure you can find it online. And if not, maybe be inspired and do a little research on Turner and his approach to using light and shadow and how he painted landscapes, specifically with watercolor, because I think too the effect that watercolor has with painting landscapes is really beautiful, and it could be something that you really enjoy diving into. Okay, so July in the Lounge is all about landscapes. I'm preparing a tutorial for you that's going to be really creative and fun, and I will be exploring Paint Like Turner and be sharing with you more here on Substack. So if you are a free subscriber, welcome. I'm going to share all of this with you as we go to help inspire you and hopefully have you join us in the lounge as we paint along this month. Okay, so how to paint like Turner or do some exploration online and study his paintings and get to know him a little bit. And I will see you in the lounge. Comment and let me know if you have studied his work, if you're familiar with it, and maybe what questions you have around painting landscapes so I can help guide you this month. Thanks, and I'll see you in the lounge.